When do you choose a quarterback? When do you do it?
Obviously, it depends on your league settings. You're doing it earlier if you're in a super flex league versus a one quarterback league.
Right.
I think third or fourth round this year, if one of four players is available.
Okay.
I want one of the elite guys. I want whether Lamar or Josh Allen or Jaden Daniels or Jalen Hurts. Those four guys. If I don't get one of those four guys, like I'm in on either. Basically, Rich, this year I want to be one of the first guys in my league to draft a quarterback, one of those four guys. Or I want to be one of the last guys in my league to draft a quarterback. Again, this is assuming you're in a one quarterback league, not a 2 QB or super flex league. I love, those guys in the middle ranges, I love Joe Burrow, proud fantasy life investor, Joe Burrow.
Nice.
I do think he has a big year, but I just think those pocket passers that don't get you yards with their legs as well as their arms, there's just a lot of them. And so I just think the value that you can get later in drafts. I mentioned Caleb Williams in the last segment there about how bullish I am on him. I think Justin Fields has a big year fantasy wise this year. So I think there are guys you can get I think Dak Prescott has a monster year this year. Again, as you talk about pocket passers going outside the top 10, I'm big on Trevor Lawrence. I think the Jaguars offense is going to be really as a late round flyer. Sure, him and Drake May. I think those are guys that are really interesting late. So basically, I want to be one of the first guys in my league to get a quarterback or one of the last, because I don't think there's a huge differentiation once you get past the top four from between 5 and quarterback 11.
You think you could win a championship with Caleb, Drake May, Dak Prescott? Because that's whenever I hold, Braveheart style, and I start screaming in my head, got to take somebody quarterback early, because I don't want to be struggling in my fantasy league week 9, week 10 with those, 14, 15, 16 point efforts, and somebody else is going all bonanza on me with their quarterback. I start thinking to myself, can I hold 9th, 10th round for one of those guys? Do you think you can win a championship with some of those folks that you mentioned, Matthew?
Obviously, some of the argument there is that by waiting on a quarterback, you're winning positions at other spots, right? So that you have an advantage on a weekly basis at running back, at tight end, at wide receiver, because you have waited on quarterback, Rich. That's part of the calculation and waiting on a quarterback there. And that, do we think Dak Prescott's going to be better than Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen? We don't. But this is a guy that was a top 5 fantasy quarterback 2 years ago. This is somebody they're going to throw. I don't think they're going to be able to run, right? And I think, and I heard you guys before I came on, you're talking about Micah. That defense is going to be worse this year regardless, but especially if Micah holds out. So they're not going to be able to run, and they're not going to play nearly as elite defense. And so they're going to have to throw a ton. The addition of George Pickens, who is as good a jump ball, 50-50 ball wide receiver in the NFL, and obviously runs a ton of deep routes. Dak Prescott, one of the best, most accurate deep ball throwers in the NFL. So, yes on Dak. I think Dak has a big fantasy year if he can stay healthy. You mentioned Caleb Williams. Look, I think there's a reason why Caleb Williams was drafted as high as he was, and part of why Ben Johnson was brought in was I hate to fix Ben Johnson. I did this. I wrote a column on NBCSports.com, rotoworld.com called "My 100 Facts You Need to Know Before You Draft."
Yes, sir.
And one of the facts that I gave is that last year, when he was not pressured, Caleb Williams had the 3rd best touchdown interception rate in the NFL among qualified quarterbacks. In essence, basically, when you gave Caleb Williams time to throw, he was actually pretty good. And we know how good he is off schedule when he has to create something. The issue with Caleb Williams is he held the ball too long. The offense was a mess last year. We get all that. But you think about what Ben Johnson, did with Jared Goff in Detroit. Built up the offensive line, gave him time to throw in rhythm. And obviously Caleb is a very different quarterback than Jared Goff, but like I said, I don't think a team improved their offensive line more than the Bears this offseason. Caleb very quietly gives you rushing production, averaged over 30 rushing yards a game last year. And so, I'm in on Caleb Williams this year as a fantasy force. I think they've got a lot of weapons. They're going to give him time. They're another team that I don't think is going to be able to run that effectively. So, and I'm a believer in Ben Johnson's offense.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.